Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this special meeting, October 16th, of the Common Council to order. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Denise King.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be seated. Actually, if you would please stay standing. Our community lost someone late last night. Those of you who remember and know Lisa Meir, I would like to offer a moment of silence in her memory. Thank you. For those of you that don't know Lisa Meir, she has been around and serving this community for many, many years. Most recently with the Beech Grove Cemetery Board of Trustees. She was the president there and worked in the county clerk's office for many, many years as well. Lisa was just a special and great lady. I think everybody that knew her would agree. So I just want to make sure we all recognize that loss. Well, this is a special meeting of the council this evening to consider for discussion of the proposed appropriations and tax rates for the year 2024, which is Ordinance 15-23. This is the third such meeting that we've had. Although this one is a little different, this is an actual special meeting of the Common Council. The other two meetings were Finance Committee meetings, so that we'll be able to this evening make any amendments that may be necessary, as well as vote on approval of the 2024 budget. We only have several departments left to discuss, and we will begin this evening with the Personnel Department. Oh, excuse me, roll call, please. Thank you.
Here.
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 Present. Present. Here. Present.
Here.
In attendance. Now we'll hear the Personnel Department. Good evening.
Good evening, Councilman and Councilwoman.
If you would, if there's anything in your budget you'd like to point out to the council, please do so. Otherwise, I'll open it up for questions, but I'll give you the floor.
Well, I just would like to point out that we just took in consideration a 5% increase for next year's wages. That's the only increase you'll see in those line items on the budget, which would be the personnel director, personnel specialist, the secretary, as well as the expenses related to that with FICA, Medicare, PERF, health, and life insurance. Well, actually, life insurance did not increase. So the rest of the items should be exactly what you saw in last year's budget. I'm able to work with those funds and continue to provide the services needed for the employees and for the city.
Great. I'll open it up for any questions from the council. Seeing, hearing none, I'll open it up if there's any questions from the audience for the Personnel Department's budget year 2024. Seeing, hearing none, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for your service and for your time. Thank you.
Up next will be the Human Rights Commission. Good evening, Ms. Thompson.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me here. I appreciate all the help that the council is doing and doing for our city, and thank you. The only thing that I have a request on is to move $1,000 from the office supplies line to the training and travels line. My board does not have or has not had a chance to go to any conferences, trainings for new commissioners. And so that request is what I would like to make.
Okay, you wanted to take $1,000 from where?
From the office supplies.
Office supplies. I'm trying to
421011.
Mhm.
Oh,
And to move that to move $1,000 to training fees and travel.
that's right above.
which is 413,085.
All right, we can do that since we are, Mr. Murphy, we can do that since the total amount advertised is not changing. We're just moving from one line item to another, so it will be the same amount. Yes. Okay, well, I will go ahead and, if it pleases the council, I think it's probably easier to go ahead and do so on the fly, since there's a recommended amendment. So I will make the motion to move $1,000 from line item 421011, which is office supplies, and move that $1,000 and add to training, fees, and travel, line item 413085.
I'd like to,
Seconded by Councilman Overby. Roll call, please, on that amendment.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. There you have it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, is there anything else in your budget you'd like to discuss or like to point out to the council?
No, everything is really pretty much the same. Appreciate the 5% increase for the director salary and the EEOC investigator. Thank you for doing that. Other than that, everything else is pretty much the same from last year. So
Okay,
appreciate all of your help.
Yeah, are there any questions from the council? Seeing, hearing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience? Seeing, hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Thompson.
All right, Thank you.
Up next is City Court. Good evening, Your Honor.
Good evening.
Is there anything about your budget you'd like to point out?
No, the only thing that it includes is the 5% increase on wages. I'm still toggling between general fund and probation user fees, trying to get as much out of user fees as I can instead of the tax dollar. So that's why there's two budgets that have been separated. And some line items will go back and forth depending on the year and the revenue. I think we lowered computers, which we haven't spent a whole lot out of that. We won't unless we need to. So if we need to, then we'll have to figure that out when the time comes. But if we don't need to, then it's just money sitting there. So
Okay, just so the council knows, the adult probation service fees can be found at almost the very bottom. It's the last in the budget itself. So just so you know, I know these budgets are 150 or so pages long. So
yes. So in what I've done with adult probation user fees, it's a non-reverting user fee fund that's the adult, when people are placed on probation, there's fees associated with that, and that goes into that fund. So I'm paying a court secretary out of that, the probation officer out of that, the bailiff out of that, and then their benefits are coming out of that as well. We're spending more out of it than what we're able to bring in a year. So the surplus that I was able to selfishly acquire up until about 2020 will be dwindling, and we'll have to be moving things back. But anyways.
okay. Are there any questions for Judge Dunick?
I've got one.
Please.
I see the other service and charges had I'd say a pretty significant change there. Do you expect some additional costs in that category?
Yes, language interpreters are needed, and we're starting to see a lot more Spanish-speaking defendants coming through. We've had a lot of sign language defendants coming through, so we are trying to schedule those. We use somebody in the Andrea Johnson from Victims Advocate. She's not necessarily state certified, but she's able to interpret, and it's a lower fee than what the state certified ones have. And we try to schedule them all as we can on one day because she charges $60 a day. But that is an increase that we just keep seeing more and more of.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the council? Seeing, hearing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience?
Audie Barber, everybody that's been up here has talked about a 5% raise for the employees. Is that an ASME raise? Is that already approved by the new contract, or are we just assuming that that's what they're going to accept?
Well, I think the positions that have received the 5% raise are not AFS CME employees. So as for the contract, of course, I can't comment on that because I don't know, but these 5% raises are not union employees.
Okay. That's what I wanted to think.
Mhm. Any other comments or questions from the audience? Seeing, hearing none. Thank you. We'll move next to the city clerk. Yep,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Good evening, Madam Clerk. Is there anything in your budget you'd like to point out to the council?
The 5% raises, of course, that's across the board with everybody. We've had some expenses lowered and then some increased. So I'll review. We've dropped the overtime budget by 500. Unemployment's been dropped down to 2,000 from 5,000, and training fees and travel. Let's see. Oh wait, that was increased by 2,000. And then at the bottom, the equipment and rental repair, we've raised that 1,000. That's based just on what we've been spending. And then other services and charges. I sent out an email before the budget was presented in city council, explaining there's other services and charges. I've asked that to be increased 10,000 from 1,000, and mainly because I don't have any legal counsel, and per statute, city clerk can have their own legal counsel.
Okay, are there any questions from the council? Seeing, hearing none, are there any comments or questions from the audience? Seeing, hearing, oh, I think we got one.
Elizabeth Edgel, what is the city clerk, what do you need with the legal counsel for?
Who's speaking in the microphone?
Well, in historically, since I've been here the last 3 years, the council attorney works for the council and the city attorney works for the city. Nobody works for me. Whenever I need help, I kind of have to go back and forth. And I do have some ordinances I'd like to review. There's some more things that need to be updated. We haven't actually updated all of the municipal code yet. It was supposed to be done, but it wasn't. So it's easier for me to work with someone that is dedicated to me. And I said by state statute, I'm allowed that.
Okay. Are there any further questions for the clerk? Seeing, hearing none, we'll move on to city council. It's a little awkward, isn't
Does
it?
that mean you got to run down to the podium?
You're right. Yeah, yeah. In looking at the city council's budget, the increases are, there are the 5% raises for members of the council next year. Everything else is pretty much the same. I do want to, and thank you, Mr. Wright, for being there. I do want to recommend, and of course, it's not something that we can do this evening, but I would hope that at the January city council meeting, this council, there will be some new council members on this council, regardless of how the election turns out. There will be new council members.
Wait a second.
So what I would like to see would be some funds for those new council members to attend the Association of Indiana Municipalities training for new elected officials that takes place in late January. So I would recommend for whoever may be successful in the upcoming election that they put together or recommend putting together a resolution pretty quickly for that January meeting, or excuse me, an additional appropriations ordinance. Suspend the rules, do something, but that training was so great. Several of us, those of us that were here in 2020, went to that training, and it is very, very valuable to have. So I would recommend adding at least several $1,000s for that training.
Okay. I know right now, year to date, You guys have spent $863, so we'll just have to review that and see. I don't know what the cost is, maybe get a cost and go from there for additional next year.
Okay. Are there any
It's
questions?
an item that's not used very much
Right.
with the council.
Are there any questions from the council?
I'd be happy to recommend the pay increase be moved into training
I'm fine with that.
services.
More than fine
To
with
do
that.
some math.
You got a calculator on you?
I think I do.
We can go ahead and make that amendment now if we want.
Although I don't see a line item here for,
Well, we could put it into, we could put it likely into other services and charges. That's, I'm sure, where the $850 has come out of that this council has spent.
It is.
So I think we could probably include it.
I think I'd rather see that actually line item for training fees and travel versus in the other expenses.
Is there a line item for travel fees or,
there has been in the
Training
past, but
fees
it's
and
not
travel.
here. I don't see it.
yeah, I don't see it here.
So that amount would be 6,441.
Wow, that's good.
Six, that you want to make that motion, Councilman Clerk?
Yeah, do we have a number we want to go from?
I was gonna say,
Uh,
add a line item?
So I'm going to go from 411,016,
down to 439,071.
other service and just charges.
Yeah.
You be okay with that, Craig?
What's that? How much?
6,000.
So I'm going to make a motion to move the amount of $6,441 from line item 411,016, which is common council salary, which would represent the 5% raise.
Down to the 439,071.
Move to 439,071, other services and charges. That's my
Okay.
motion.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Good job. Good job, Council.
Tied to that, do we need to make an adjustment to the FICA and Medicare as well? Because those will be reduced.
We would likely, yeah, I would say the FICA, that's a great observation, Councilman Marshall. Medicare and FICA and PERF, there will likely be a slight decrease in those, although probably negligible.
And I'll get those numbers for you at a total and move them down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
So you guys just agreed to give the new council a 5% raise and then you just spin it for them?
Yep.
Okay.
We
That's
didn't
what,
agree to give them a raise yet.
Yeah.
well, you know what I'm saying, with the budget,
We haven't voted. Yeah, we haven't voted on the budget yet.
you know what I'm saying? I was just wanting that on the record.
I'm sure, look, that training that they'll receive.
Oh, yeah, I agree
is-
100%
More
with
valuable
it.
than that 5%.
Yeah, because those of us, there are four of us up here that were elected in 2019, and I can tell you firsthand, when you come into this position, there's nobody to tell you what to do.
Right.
You
Very
come in,
intimidating.
you
Yeah.
come in, you
Mr.
got to figure
Robinson.
everything out yourself. Hang on a second, Audie. You got to come in, you got to figure out everything on your own. And this training that many of us went to, I think Councilman Clark, you went, I know I did. I think Councilman Ingram did. Of course, Councilman Dishman went probably back in the
When they started.
1990s.
Different horse-drawn carriages in Indianapolis.
Yep.
When it
So,
first cooled off.
yeah, up in the snow, uphill both ways. So he didn't have to go, obviously. He had been here, but this new council is really going to appreciate that training.
So how long does that training last and how much was it when you,
I don't remember. It was 2 days. We spent the night in Indianapolis one night. It was a full day. Spent the night, of course,
Oh,
there were
wait.
dinners, things like that, and then the next day as well.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay,
Councilwoman
I
Sully?
wish I didn't go through that training, and I know I had to rely on most of these gentlemen to explain how things work. It's different when you're sitting behind here. You look, there's so many things that you don't know, and I wish I went through that training and I didn't have the opportunity to. So I think that will be great for the new council. I agree.
Is this still public comment?
Yes.
Okay, so I thought I'd just come up here and let y'all know that Association of Indiana Municipalities, AIM, they do offer this training all the time. So it's just an email. and they will set something up with people, because the like situation like we have here in Muncie is really not that unique, and it's actually becoming more common. So with people switching in and switching out, moving and things like that. So,
Thank you.
all right.
And I can tell you, Mr. Barber, that a 5% raise on $14,400 a year is really not that much. So that is what the council is paid, $14,400 a year and a little bit of change. So, yep. Is there anything further from the council on our budget? Hearing none. Is there any further comment from the audience? Thank you, council. Up next is Beech Grove Cemetery.
Hello, Troy Waters, Superintendent of Beech Grove Cemetery. I probably got more changes on here than most departments, but everything I'm going by is what I'm finding out it takes to keep the cemetery going like it is now, and keep it from being like it was before I started. And we've added 20,000 to our part-time help. I don't know that we'll use all of that, but we went from having, when I came here, 3 part-time employees to 8 to 9 in the summer, and 2 permanent part-time plus our full-time help. And they work all day long and trying to keep things going. So I think that's going to be roughly what we need to keep that going. And hopefully it'll continue to be that way. Unemployment. Last year we had 1,500 in there. We did have one employee that had filed, and we didn't use all of that. I kind of put that 2,500 on there as a safety net, just in case something did slip through and someone filed, we'd have it in there. Office supplies. We had $800 last year in office supplies. We used that up. I think right now we got $17.52 left, and that's been since maybe March. We used that up, so that's why I upped that to $2,000 to do that. And again, I'm not I always say I'm a necessity person. I try to get what we need instead of extra. Telephones. We had a 200 there. We're on a really old phone system there that just works half the time. We're adding an office where we're going to need a 3rd phone for the part-time office help to work down there. And we're going to end up needing a new system. And I don't know what it's going to cost yet, so we upped that a little bit. Over here on foundations, we hadn't had this foundations on there before, so we're starting out with $3,000. We had brought in I can't give you the exact amount now, several $1,000s since we started doing our own foundations last year, and we got foundations coming in every day. Before, Beech Grove Cemetery got a $25 locate fee for locating the grave where the foundation went. Monument companies hired a contractor to come in and dig them. Now we do them ourselves, and the only thing we don't make off of it is the employee's salary and materials to do. And that has been a big plus to us, that we got to have something in there for materials to start out with on that, budgeted. And on the materials on that, I found a way to get it by the skids, and we're saving 500 and something a skid, a pallet, and I think we're using about 2 skids a year. Maybe might have to buy 3. Fence repair, and me and Zach both sat down and went over this, and we both agreed that if we could put 10,000 a year in there for fence repair, or hopefully not damage, just normal repair, that would give us, at least we're getting some done on it. And mowers and vehicles, I would like to purchase another new mower this year, a smaller one, to get into the tighter places. And weed eaters, I think we went through 2 last year that just got wore out. We're constantly running them every day, and that's just an equipment for the grounds, equipment for the grounds mainly. I think we're good on vehicles unless something was to blow up or something like that, but that's mainly mower equipment, chainsaws. We're about the same as everybody else on the salary. It's a 5% increase on there. And I think that's about it.
Are there any questions from the council? Seeing, hearing none, are there any questions or comments from the audience?
Audie Barber again. You're talking about the fence that keeps getting hit, correct?
Yeah.
Maybe as a city, we can get a hold of the state before they turn that state highway over to us, maybe get a guardrail. Check about getting a guardrail. Let the state pay for it, and that may save some wear and tear on our fences. If not, then maybe when the city does take it over in a couple of years, that we can maybe look at straightening that road out to where it ain't so curvy.
We had talked about a guardrail, but if you're putting a galvanized guardrail up there,
Expensive.
you might as well take the historic fence
That's
down.
what I was about to say.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I mean, it protects
the
the,
fences, the whole reason.
it protects it, so
I'd rather find a way to
straighten the road.
get a lower deductible, or someone take action on the people that hit them. Don't have any.
road.
Just get somebody on this end of the road and somebody on that end of the road. Pull it real tight. We'll get it straightened right out.
Thank you for the suggestion. It's a beautiful fence, and unfortunately, sometimes I think people just can't stay away from it.
It's a magnet.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That one spot.
Yep.
Dying to get in. What's that?
Well, thank you, Mr. Waters.
Literally.
That is the final department to be heard in the 2024 municipal budget. We've made several amendments this evening. Are there any other amendments to be made? Any motions to amend the budget in any way?
Uh-oh.
Now, I just wanted to thank the council for listening to the budget for next year's budget, and would appreciate it. We'll make the adjustments that were recommended on that, and we're here to see all the departments succeed, and we feel like we do have a balanced budget that the DLGF from the state agreed with, and we even had a couple council members that set in on that. And just let the council know, let's work with the budget. Budgets aren't always perfect. If they're not, we can certainly go before the council next year, make any additional adjustments needed. But I want to thank everybody for the considerations over the third meeting. And that's really all I had to say.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Any final comments from the council?
I do have one question, kind of circle back a little bit. Maybe Belinda might need to answer this. In your city clerk budget there, did the legal fees go into other service and charges, or where did those go?
Yeah.
Okay. Would it be appropriate if we put that in a line item for legal fees and services?
Can
No,
we
we-
have one?
Can we? I know we all heard that discussion, but next year or the following year, I don't know that that'll be
Yes. Clear.
clear for the future.
Okay. Matt Wagley, Deputy Controller. I'm not sure that we can make that adjustment like in this budget, but we can certainly adjust the budget for next year to reflect that it goes to legal fees.
Satisfied with that, Mr. Marshall?
I think so. Yep.
Maybe if I had an attorney, we can write an ordinance so I could have a line item for that.
It wouldn't,
Only thing
it
you
wouldn't
gotta
be a
do is
line
reach
item.
out.
Well,
We can do that in our office.
Okay.
We
You can reach
can
out to a
create,
council. Yep, and you
I
can reach
mean,
out
as-
to a council member at any time to have them author that or that ordinance through our attorney as well.
absolutely. Yeah. Or ours, either one. Yeah. Yeah. And we won't need I guess I can't say that. I'm not sure exactly what legal fees would be under, whether it be 421, 411, something of that nature. But we'll get it done.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Wagley.
Thank you.
Are there any other further questions or comments from the council relating to the 2024 budget? Anything from the audience?
I know, Audie Barber. I'm just concerned that some of these employees that are getting these 5% raises fall under the ASME union contract. I think Beech Grove Cemetery employees do, and they're giving them a 5% raise, not knowing what the negotiations with the contracts and stuff are, if there's even any going on at this time. So all I'm asking is that you guys tread lightly when you're giving these raises. I'm not saying they don't deserve them, but I think they need to fall under the contract if they are union contractors, contracted.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of doing that because there is a contract still withstanding, and by state statute, we have to pass the municipal budget by October 31. So
Okay.
we just don't have that luxury.
Just putting it on the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment from the audience?
Yeah, the 5% is just a contingency. It doesn't necessarily mean that's just what we responsibly think we need to budget for. Clearly, there might be some changes that have from negotiated contracts. So we're just trying to be responsible and put something in there. And if those negotiations come out and that needs to be a different number, obviously, whether it needs to be an additional appropriation or whatever, but that would be what you would be looking at that time.
Thank you. Well, with that, okay.
Just, it's been a few years, but just for the record, a few years back, because of COVID, we didn't have as much revenue the following year. So none of the non-union employees got a raise. They went from one year to the next exactly the same. Just for the record.
Well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 15-23 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Ingram, seconded by Councilwoman Selvey. Is there any further discussion? I think we've had plenty. So seeing, hearing none, roll call please on ordinance 15-23.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That is it for this special meeting of the Common Council, October 16. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion was made by Councilman Overby, seconded by Councilman Ingram. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye.